Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're going to talk about what the villages, townships, and all the various political organizations are trying to make your life different.
All those guys that you elected.
Yes, not me, probably you. No, you're from a
no.
different area, aren't you?
Probably you.
Yeah, do they have any politicians over in your neck of the woods?
In Brandon Township? They're rife with them.
Oh, do you? Okay. You probably go out and punch a hole in the ice, and there's lots of ice right now. More snow than ice.
There's too much snow.
And you probably sit there in a nice cold block of ice discussing politics.
Where have you been?
Well, I know where you've been. You've been out sick, but anyway, so don't get too close. I've heard rumors. Let's talk first of all about the Oxford Addison Cable Commission, shall we?
Our parent organization.
Right, and I understand that you were out of town, very conveniently.
Yeah. I was under the weather, as they say, and the weather was not so good to be under anyhow,
Whether inside or whether outside?
whether or not.
Okay, anyway, they did discuss budgets and expenses in the budgets. They talked about employees, what was considered minimum amount of hours that they could work to be part-time. And they concluded at some point here that 27 hours was what they would like to see. I can recall now other...
Is that a legal requirement or just something that the board kind of feels comfy with?
Well, that's something that the board has set, I think, in terms of,
So it's what they feel comfy
wages.
with.
It is. As a matter of fact, they have requested information from the attorney as to what is considered and what constitutes minimum wage. Is it 30 hours? Is it 31 hours?
Not minimum wage, but
Or I mean, the amount of hours in it,
that
a part-time person. can work.
Right.
You got it. Thank you. Thanks for correcting me.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's what I'm here for.
Right. I know you are. And so the question still remains. There is some uncertainty, but the commission has asked the attorney, Bob Davis, for an opinion on this.
Good Lord, I thought they asked him about 3 meetings ago.
Quite a while ago, I understand. But I guess I don't understand why they don't have an opinion on it yet, because I think looking at the expenses that on the billing was a bill from Bob Davis, which was supposedly covering this particular question.
I see.
So that being said, I would think that would have been sent to them, but
You get a bill, you get an answer, right?
right. But that can solve a lot of issues with the commission if they know what the what is that I want to say? I'm lost.
That
running
minimum
around.
number of, the maximum number of hours
Got
that a part-time employee can work.
Exactly.
If they feel safe with 27 right now, but that may be resolved given any kind of response from the lawyer.
Right. What constitutes a part-time employee? And so I don't think that's really resolved yet. And if it is, they're not revealing it to anyone. So the other part of it is that the
But
question...
wait, there's more, and it will continue to be more until we get an answer.
There is. But there is a part of the question that the Obamacare has an impact. And they want to...
That's true. Their Obamacare has some strictures in it about the definition of a part-time employee also.
No, it doesn't. I happen to go through the Obamacare program, and actually they base their numbers on full-time employees. And you might ask yourself, if I have less than 50 employees, which is their ceiling, actually there's 2 ceilings they have, one is 25, one's 50.
But it's kind of like the good side and the dark side. What constitutes a full-time employee, the dark side of that is what constitutes a part-time employee.
You're right.
There's a dividing line.
And guess what? They define that in
do.
Obamacare.
And
They
what
do.
is it?
2 part-time employees is equal to 1 employee for intensive purposes of the count.
What does that mean?
Okay, that means that full-time employees, if you have, for example, 10 part-time employees and you have 5 full-time employees, 5 come in handy. I mean, they go towards the count. And you take the other 10 and you divide it by 2, which gives you 5. Now you have 10 full-time employees. Now, they don't stipulate exactly how many hours you need for a full-time employee. In other words, for 2 part-time people to become 1 full-time in this count effort that they use towards their formula. I know it sounds complicated, but it's not. So where the 27 hours came from, which is a minimum amount of hours that part-time employees that are allowed to work here. Where that came from, I have no clue, because they don't talk about 27 hours at all.
It's like three-card Monte, where's the nut?
Right. What I do know is, according to their formulas, that 40 hours is full-time. So, and
Okay.
if, let's say, we don't know yet what they consider part-time. Is it 30 hours? Is it 31 hours? Is it really 27? What is it?
So Obamacare doesn't make any definition.
They don't. Not on that, other than saying that if you're part-time, if you're in a part-time category, and by the way, the state of Michigan,
A part-time employee is considered one half of a full-time employee.
that's correct.
But that really doesn't answer our question of what's the maximum number of hours that a part-time employee can work before he's considered a full-time employee.
That's right. And that's based on an opinion, which has to come from the attorney, which supposedly hasn't come yet.
No.
So once that's
It should
been,
be more than an opinion, it should be law.
well, here's the deal. I mean, I have talked to attorneys, they say it's 30 to 32 hours roughly. State of Michigan says, you know, from what I found, is 30 to 32 hours also. Some states require 35 hours, you know, to be part-time. It's different in every state. So the state of Michigan, and as an employer myself, I always anticipated that 32 hours was part-time, you know, in the businesses that I owned. So that being said,
And once again, these are not individual weeks worked, but an average,
this is an
because hours will
average.
fluctuate up and down.
Exactly, and that question came up also in the commission meeting. And I think Ed Hunwick asked that question. When somebody said, well, you can't work over 27 hours, you know, the part-time people. And I think Susan Bassardi or Lori, I think Lori made that statement.
Lori Fisher.
Lori Fisher. And Ed Hunwick, though, he said, excuse me, hold it, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. Is that part-time, or is that considered an average or a period of time, or is that per week?
But right now,
And nobody answered
our information is more anecdotal rather than hardcore.
No, ours is hardcore. I
It
just
is?
looked it all up.
Well, I know you did.
And also, the manager knows the situation.
Well, then you should tell the lawyer.
Well, my son's an attorney, but anyway, and I did talk to him about it a little bit, but that is a whole subject in itself.
Right.
Communications Commission is going to have to deal with this one. They need to first, in order to make any decisions, know what minimum wage is in terms of this business, right?
There the story started and there the story ended.
Well, it doesn't really end yet either,
I know.
because if you've got 25 employees, you get credits back if you decide to go, you know, with Obamacare. Do you have to go with Obamacare if you're under 50 people, full-time employees? No, absolutely not.
He answered his own question.
Right. Now, the credits, though, depend on if you have less than 25 employees or if you have, you know,
Right.
less than 50 employees. So there's a percentage that applies to those particular numbers. So that would be the reason why, you know, they've established two different areas up to 50.
What is considered to be a operating entity, whether it's government or business? Is it their tax ID?
Actually, Obamacare deals with nonprofit organizations as well, not just profit organizations.
Right.
So it applies to both groups.
But are within
But-
this
but-
within this whole Obamacare, you know, galaxy, is each entity identified according to their tax ID?
No.
They're not.
Well, it's part of it. If you're a business, you have to present your tax ID. Tax ID is used for purposes of retail mostly, in the state of Michigan.
How about government?
About government? In what way are you asking?
Well, I think our tax ID is the same as the townships.
If it is, then it all goes back to the position of who actually purchased the license, you know, for the
License?
station. Yeah, you had
Oh.
to get a license for this station to operate.
okay.
You know what? We'll talk about that some more when we come back in just a moment. Yes. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we've been just beating the squat out of Obamacare. What's going on with the...
Otherwise known as the Affordable Health Care Act.
It is the Communications Commission meeting that they had. And that
Right.
kind of intertwines with what went on in the commission.
Did we cover anything else?
They did. Let me see, what else? Oh, insurance liability. They talked about, if one of the camera people, for example, is going out on a shoot and they get in an accident,
Right.
who pays, for this? Do we have accident insurance to protect these people? And so Bill Service, the station manager, he said, yeah, he says, we have all kinds of insurance. Ed Hunwick spoke up and he says, whoa, he says, we do. He says, I know, we're pretty well protected. So
Right.
that then did not become an issue. They had an election also of new people, positions on this board.
Everything old is new again?
Well, kind of not. Okay. Buck Kreiderman says, I know I said I didn't want to do this again, this term, but now I rescind. I would like to do it for my last term. And we said, okay. Or they said, oh. Ed says, okay. He says, I'll nominate Buck. And I believe Shar, she said, well, I'll nominate Sue Basardi, for the position. So now we had a standoff, and they took a vote. And as it turned out, Buck Kreiderman took the chair as a chairperson.
Again?
Yeah, again. And Shar became the vice chair again.
Again?
Mm-hmm. And Lori Fisher became treasurer.
Again?
Again. and Sue Basardi became the secretary.
Again?
Again. Okay. So it pretty much stayed status quo.
Okay.
Good outcome. They'll be fine. They know each other, and each one knows their job. So
Right.
this is a good thing.
They get
Didn't have to
along well.
relearn.
They play well together.
They do. So anyway, so that took care of the positions on the board. Let me see. They had a QuickBooks. They were talking about you.
Oh. And?
And apparently we have QuickBooks, but we had a crash on the computer.
Yes, we did.
Would you like to tell me more?
Well, we had a crash on the computer, but
And what did you do to fix
well,
it? Is it fixed?
the hard drive itself was pretty much toast, but we went out and bought a 2 terabyte hard drive, and our IT provider, Calvary Computing, came in and recovered practically everything. And
Practically.
practically, we were missing an Adobe product called Acrobat, which in the last week I managed to solve that problem, and we're up and operating pretty good right now.
Well-
Matter of fact, I've established the 2014 budget according to how it's been put forth to us, and we're starting to record 2014 bills.
Well, kudos to you.
Kudo.
Not coulda. Did.
Did.
Okay. Well, that's good. And I understand too that let me see. They had you've upgraded the PEG system, I think, considerably. There's a lot more goodies out there now.
I haven't upgraded the PEG. There was a stall
You
there
didn't
in
break it,
getting
did you?
no. There was a stall in getting some of the programs up there, but we've got a good flow of programs going up to PEG Central right now. So you have to allow probably about I'd say 3 to 5 days delay from the time that we start broadcasting a particular program to the time that it's available on PEG. But that process is running pretty smoothly right now.
Alrighty then. So everything is great. We got all new equipment here, and it seems to be working well. We don't have to use Band-Aids, wire, or anything like
No.
that. Put it back
You-
together.
You brought an awful lot of new toys, I must say.
Yeah. Well, it was through the help of the Communications Commission that all this happened. And
Right.
Bill Service has a real strong drive to get this thing up to date somewhat. He was actually, I think, getting a little bit tired about buying new Band-Aids all the time to fix this stuff. So anyway, so he did take the brave,
I do remember buying
strong
duct tape last
position.
week.
Yes, we did. We did buy some duct tape. Not for the equipment, though.
Well, you never know. Duct tape has amazing uses.
You never know. Duct tape is for everything.
That's right.
You watch Red Green from
Red
Canada?
Green, man. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah, he's in Canada.
Well, I know
Syndicated
that.
program up in Canada.
That's right.
Yeah.
He lives for duct tape.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to think of one of his slogans. I'm a man, but I can change if I have to, I guess.
All right.
It's pretty funny. If you get a chance,
Yeah,
it's
it
on
is.
PBS stations, and
Is it still being broadcast?
it's still being broadcast.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's red-green. It's
A lot of good
kind
humor
of like
there.
the duck thing. What's the Duck
Duck Dynasty?
Dynasty?
Not quite.
It's not?
I don't think so.
Well,
There's a lot more
They're kind
you-
of strange people.
Well, that's true.
I think that's maybe where it ends, but we don't have any
I'm
strange
not sure
people
what part
here,
of
do we?
Canada that comes from. Is it either the East Coast or from Hamilton or someplace
You know,
like that?
I never thought to think about where it came from.
You never thought
I
to think.
Never thought to think. And that's what he would say too.
I see.
But he's an inventor too. But anyway, that's the subject. You folks need to tune in once in a while, maybe check it once.
There are thousands of uses of duct tape, and Red Green knows them all.
You got it. I'll tell you what, we have pretty much beat the squat out of the Communications Commission.
Uh-oh.
So we'll be back in just a moment.
As a matter of fact,
Chinese people.
4, 3.
Welcome back. This is Minutes by Minute, and I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kinney.
And we just got finished with the Communications Commission. Now we're going to talk about the Village Township, or not Township, the Village Planning Commission, which
Oh, okay.
occurred February 4th. Sue Basardi is the chairperson for that particular commission, and she does a good job.
All right.
Yeah.
So were there any big issues?
Well, it was a short meeting, actually, as far as I know. Of course, most of the meetings run pretty long in the council I'm in, but they didn't have a lot going that night. During the beginning, they kind of talked about merge and the way, you know, they're all set to go. They have a coffee shop now,
Merge the art studio.
the art studio, and they're in their new location now. And they said they've got a little problem with kids going to school. Sometimes they stop in there and forget to go to school. So
Oh.
anyway, they've
Well,
determined.
especially when it's 2 degrees out and it's warm in there.
Yeah, yeah, right. Would you rather walk in the snow and the ice and the wind, or would you rather be in a nice warm place having snacks?
Is that a question?
Well, I know what your answer would be. I know that. So anyway, they've got that going. One of the first things they talked about was sign ordinances, and they have a consultant.
no.
Yeah, they have a
No.
consultant, and the question came up is if you have tenants above the building, 2-story building, and the building is 90 feet long, and you have 3 tenants up above.
Sounds like one of those word problems I used to get in high school.
How big is the sign in terms of square footage that you can have? There's a formula. So
Blue.
there is a formula just to make your life a little easier, and it's the distance of the front of the building. In other words, if it's 90 feet, as we said, there's 3 tenants. Divide 90 by 3, and you end up with what? 30 square feet, right?
Okay.
So that's how many square feet they're allowed to have, according to ordinance. And they just needed to redefine this and let the owners of the buildings know, because otherwise they just willy-nilly put their sign up in this wrong size and they make them take it down.
That's true.
So,
I can think of 2 buildings, the one where Lily's restaurant is, and also where the Crittenton Medical Facility
well, I
is.
think the Lily's restaurant isn't in
Not
violation.
not specifically, but that building has multiple tenants upstairs and
Well,
down.
it does, but I don't think that they're using any real signage, for those tenants. Yeah, I see their signage on the windows, but
Right.
it meets code
Okay.
requirements. I know that was a subject that was watched pretty close, because that was
Yeah.
one of the first sign ordinance issues that came on board when they were to design this ordinance.
Right.
So anyway, so they're fine. It's just that there's a lot of other businesses too that are interested in going into various locations. So they need to let these people know what it is. Another subject that came up was there's a gentleman from the Genesis Credit Union in town here, and they want to put an addition onto the building, I believe. And
Where is that building located?
I couldn't tell you. That's a good question. For research, we'll have you tell the audience out there next time.
Well, of course.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You delegate
There's
a lot, don't you?
There's a couple of other issues I mentioned a while back that come to mind that, well, we'll talk to you about later.
All right.
Folks out there now are wondering, what were those issues? Well, we'll tell you in the next session, so you don't want to miss the next show minutes by minute. Anyway, they also want a sign, electronic sign put in. There's certain stipulations, requirements for electronic signs.
At
So
the Genesis.
At the Genesis. So they'll probably have to get a variance, more likely, on that. So they're looking at several issues. One is zoning, one is special use, and one is building site plan needs to be, looked at and agreed and confirmed that it's okay to go ahead
I know
with
they
it.
look very closely at electronic signs because of sometimes they're static, sometimes they're dynamic.
Yeah. Right. Most of the time, they don't want signs blinking on and off and so
Right.
forth. So that's going to be an issue more likely. Depends on the type of sign. Also, luminance makes a difference. How much lighting it actually projects. You don't want anything that's maybe a guy next door. He can't see his key to get it in the door because the whole sky is lit up. So that could be a problem. I do know that this thing is close to where the East Alley is, and I know the question came up. Being it's on the East Alley, and I think it was Maureen Helmuth that brought it up. She says, being it's on the East Alley, is this company going to pay for renovation of the East Alley somewhat? And Joe Young, the village manager, he said, yes, I believe they are going to do that, and that would be in part of the plan. So that's good news.
To be resolved.
Yeah, to be resolved. So the gentleman said, well, we'd like to bring this information to you in the next meeting. We're just kind of using you as a sounding board right now to see if there's any issues that we need to look at before we come forward. They said that they have been working with the people that deal with the codes, within the area, and Joe Young, and the engineer is one of them, to resolve the issues before we bring this to you, as a planning commission.
As well, they should.
Yep, and that's the way it should work, as you say. That way they won't be chased away with dogs and pitchforks.
Or have to come back countless times to take care of minor issues.
That's right. What's going on? What's coming up?
Well, there's a lot of activity on the political front here. On 2/11, at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council is going to meet. At 7:30 on the same day, the Addison Township Planning Commission. At 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Council. And on 2/12, at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Board of Trustees will be meeting. And at 6:30, the Oxford Area Board of Education. Check to see where that's going to be located. They kind of float around. On 2/13 at 7 p.m., the Oxford Township Planning Commission. And at 7:30, the Addison Township ZBA. Check on that one. Sometimes they meet, sometimes they don't. And on 2/17, the Village of Oxford Downtown Development Authority at, I think it's at 6 o'clock they meet, right?
Yep, 6 o'clock. I want to mention one of the things that the Oxford trustees, the board of trustees meeting that you mentioned on the 12th is coming up. That's at 7 p.m., as you pointed out. On that, during that period, you're going to see them talk about Squaw Lake and Clear Lake. You remember the issues with that?
The weeds?
Weeds, yeah, lots of weeds.
Not Colorado weeds, but weeds in the lake.
Big water weeds. Get all of the residents really excited. So
We might have a cash crop
yeah,
here.
but this is going to get them excited too because they're going to have a special assessment. And if you go to the Oxford Leader newspaper, you'll see on the back page a description of who is all involved in that assessment. They have property addresses.
So is it basically just property that has land on the lake, or do they go back one or two pieces of property?
Oh, it's going to be land on the lake,
Okay.
more likely.
Okay.
But you should check the leader, and if your address is on there, you need to go directly to this meeting. All right, this is Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols,
And I'm Dave Kinney.
and we'll catch you next time. Take
See
care.
you then.
Yeah, that was okay, I think.
President Roosevelt signed the Bill of Rights.
I've always appreciated the American Legion's
My gratitude to the American
Thank
Legion.
you all to the American Legion.
We have millions of veterans that are members of our organization. Thank you.
The American Legion. We serve America and its veterans. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These four pillars shape our work and what we do for America. There is power in our numbers. We're the largest organization of wartime veterans in the nation. We are 2.5 million members strong, men and women from every state in the nation and around the world. No other veterans organization wields this kind of power. We work relentlessly within our four pillars of service, and we succeed. The American Legion takes care of our fellow veterans and their families. We maintain close ties with Congress and the leaders in Washington, D.C. They respect us. They listen to us. We sponsor research and press for medical care and benefits for all veterans and active duty service members, whether they are members of the American Legion or not.
President Roosevelt signs G.I. Joe's Bill of Rights.
You've heard of the GI Bill of Rights, one of the most important pieces of social legislation of the 20th century. It was written and passed largely through the efforts of the American Legion. We were instrumental in the formation of what is now the Department of Veterans Affairs to make sure our veterans get the care and benefits they are promised and deserve. The young people of our nation are our future. They benefit from exceptional programs and generous scholarships that only the American Legion offers. We provide athletic programs like American Legion Junior Shooting Sports, Legion Baseball, and educational and civics programs like the Oratorical Scholarship Contest, and Boys State and Boys Nation.
As Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black stated, the quality of justice that Americans receive should not depend upon the amount of money they have.
We promote citizenship and an appreciation of government. We have all been directly involved in our nation's defense as wartime veterans. We know what policies, tools, and manpower our military needs to protect this great country. We fight to get these things done.
We're all very grateful to have the American Legion on point.
We take our case all the way to the top in Washington, D.C. to ensure that America is prepared for any threat. We are patriots through and through. We believe in our flag and all that it stands for. Our Constitution, our Pledge of Allegiance, our way of life are all fundamental to maintaining our freedom and the standing that we have as the greatest country on earth. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. These pillars represent not just what we do, but who we are. We're here to serve our fellow veterans, their families, and all of America. We are here for them. We are here for you. The American Legion asks you to join us in our mission. If you share our vision and commitment to America, visit our website at legion.org or your nearest American Legion post today.
You're watching OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford, Addison Township, and the village of Leonard.